When Jane Andrews, the Seventh-day Adventist Church's first missionary, was sent to Switzerland in 1874, radio as we know it didn't even exist. Today, images and sound can be sent all around the globe in a fraction of a second. Technology and mission, that and much more coming up next on Mission 360. Hello, I'm Gary Krause and welcome to Mission 360, coming to you today from the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Silver Spring, Maryland. On today's program, we'll be looking at how technology can assist mission, and we'll be talking to people who are involved in doing exactly that. We'll also see pathfinders in action, making a difference in their communities. We'll also be looking at what goes on behind a mission video shoot, and we'll talk to Ricky Oliveris, who produces the Mission Spotlight DVD that is shown in thousands of churches around the world. But first up, let's travel to the country of Nepal, and we'll see how Adventist World Radio is making the difference in thousands of lives in that beautiful country. We'll be seeing how this is happening through the dedicated work of a Nepalese speaker and pastor.
श्रोता साथी न्यानो क्रिस्टी अभिवादन म तपाईको आफ्नै आफन्त तपाईले मलाई दाजु भन्न सक्नुहुन्छ भाइ
I am a pastor and we work among the people, those who are in darkness, those who are in poverty, those who are in depression, those who don't see the hope and depressed in their lives. We need to reach them. But personally, as a pastor, I cannot reach them. But through radio, we can reach each village, each home, each person.
Pastor Umesh Pokarol is the voice of Adventist World Radio in Nepal. Nepal has a population of more than 30 million, and less than 2% are Christians. At the end of each radio broadcast, the pastor shares his cell phone number for people to call with prayer requests. Some days, he receives up to 70 calls from people asking for prayer.
And they talk to me and they have a problem. They share especially health problem. They want us to pray, and other house family problem, and many things they share with us. And we become a friend through phone. We become a close friend through phone.
भाइ म दिनु त श्रीमतीलाई तपाईको बहिनीलाई तपाईको श्रीमतीलाई
Some of them have called us to come and teach us more. Before we meet them, we know their problem. They have already shared with us. Okay? Family problem, health problem, financially, everything we listen. We want to tell them we are part of you and we care for you. We care for you. And we pray. And if there is any problem, unresolved issues, anything, we'll pray and God will.
I was tuning through my radio when the Voice of Hope program caught my attention. I decided to call the number at the end of the program, and I was in contact with the pastor for about 6 months over the phone. And now we are finally meeting face to face.
Listeners like Don May are passionate about the difference the radio broadcasts have made in their lives. The words have brought so much peace into their hearts that they want to hear more. Pastor Umesh has recorded close to 200 sermons and programmed them into a special radio. When he comes to visit the people who he has been in contact with for months through phone, he gives them a radio filled with hours of inspiring content. He will show them how to use the new radio and then has a prayer with them.
In that radio, there is a SD card, we call. In that SD card, we have sermon, recorded sermon already. Almost 200 sermons are there. And our program only comes half an hour a day. But if they want to listen, they can listen anytime. If they have the recorded sermon in that radio, if their program is not coming on that day, they can hear. And one of the listeners, what she said yesterday, if she cannot hear our program, she feels something is missing. That is her expression. But when she has this radio with the recorded sermon in his SD card, she can listen.
People like Titus, who is suffering from lung cancer, or Sita, whose arm used to be paralyzed, find hope in Jesus that can be found nowhere else. The pastor knows that the only way to reach these people is by following the example Christ left for us on this earth.
Or if you want to be friendly with these people, if you want to tell your things, you have to understand their culture. And they should accept you as their friend.
Please pray for the people in Nepal. Pray that the love of Jesus will be broadcast into homes throughout Nepal through the waves of Adventist World Radio. And thank you for supporting the mission of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
People are receptive to the gospel. People are hungry. People are living under the poverty, depression, but they need a hope.
I'm talking to Pastor Jim Eyre, who is Vice President at Adventist World Radio. Jim, thanks for joining us.
Hey, it's good to be here with you. Thank you.
Now, we just saw Adventist World Radio making a difference in Nepal. Now, you've been there. What have you seen there?
Well, Nepal's an amazing country. Matter of fact, one time when I was flying out, I was actually reading in the newspaper that the day before, the engineers had trouble with a plane on the tarmac. They couldn't fix it, so they got out right on the tarmac and sacrificed a goat to their gods to get the plane to fly. I was hoping I wasn't in that plane.
No, exactly. Now, the speaker, the pastor there, what I like about it is he's speaking on the airwaves, but he also has the personal touch.
He does, and the folks in Nepal are so sweet. They respond to just about everything. You know, any program we get out there, they respond to. We received one communication that said, I never knew in all my life there was any gods other than Hinduism and Buddhism or any religions. But you've introduced me to Jesus Christ. Thank you for allowing me to taste the sweetness of God. I tell you, it just touches your heart so much. Yeah. We've in Nepal now, not only do we broadcast by shortwave radio, but we also have been buying airtime on all the major, anyway, FM networks. And so we're reaching a tremendous amount in Nepal now.
Yeah. Give our viewers some sort of a worldwide view of Adventist World Radio's reach.
Well, we broadcast in over 100 major languages of the world. That gives us the opportunity to blanket about 80% of the world's population. And in doing that, we broadcast via AM, FM, shortwave, internet, and now podcasting. And podcasting, God has just run with that for us. I mean, it's been exponential, the growth in podcasts. Now, maybe a lot of your viewers don't even realize what podcast is,
right.
But these people can take their smartphones and they subscribe to a program. It downloads it automatically when they connect to the internet, and then they can listen to it at any time. We have 1 million downloads a day in China alone. And the latest figure I have, this is just a rough figure at the moment because we don't have really great stats, but over 1 billion downloads this past year.
Wow.
We're the largest provider of content, audio content for iTunes in the whole world now.
Fantastic.
And it's all God. I mean, it's just, and it looks like it's doubling. Our engineer says every 6 months.
Wow. Now, what sort of content do you have on Adventist World Radio?
Well, we do a couple of things, but especially for our shortwave programs, we utilize a half-hour program. We kind of call it a magazine format. First 10 minutes might be, for instance, in Tanzania, we might broadcast how to take better care of your cattle, because cattle are sacred, right? I've seen it where they just soon leave their children to rot on the trail virtually to get their cattle to water. That's how sacred cattle are over the family. And so when we broadcast how to take better care of your cattle, they listen, they like that. And then the next 10-minute segment is a family segment, you know, how to maybe take care of your family now.
Once you've got the priority out of the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then the third segment is a biblical segment.
Okay.
And I've seen, for instance, in that area in Tanzania, we had one lady, a Seventh-day Adventist. She was sick on her bed, and she said, God, I just, please help me. I want to witness for you, but I'm on this bed and I can't get up. Help me. She prayed that prayer for, I don't know, weeks, maybe drove God crazy. And then one day God says, turn on your radio. Turn on your radio. And then she thought, oh, and she called this guy. This guy climbed up on her roof, hooked up a a big speaker on a roof, and she turned on AWR and she blasted out to the village. I said, "Didn't your neighbors get mad?" And she says, "Oh," she said at first, but then they began to listen to the program. Now one day there's a Maasai warrior walking by, and all of a sudden he stops and he listens and he hears about Jesus and he kind of likes it. Next day he brings back some buddies, and the next day, and pretty soon he's got a whole group of warriors that were traveling through the village. They're stopping every day. And then when there's a whole group, God raised her up out of her bed, healed her instantly. She got up, gave them Bible studies, and the whole Maasai village, I was there, was converted to Jesus Christ. And God is doing so many miracles out there, Gary. I just see drops of the latter rain all over the place, you know?
Fantastic. Now, Jim, just a personal question. We work in the same building here. Most people don't dress like you do. What's the story?
Well, this is my outfit for the Making Waves television program I do, and I can, you know, travel around the world and take people on a journey, but just happened you caught me on a day when I was filming for something else. So
wonderful, yeah. And viewers, many of you may know Jim from the Making Waves TV program. Jim, what's the most encouraging aspect of your work with Adventist World Radio? What's the thing that blesses you the most?
That's a really hard question to answer, but the easy answer is everything.
Yes.
I mean, to see the listener responses, to hear the listener responses, to talk to these people, Gary, it's amazing what God is doing. In the darkest corners of planet Earth, He is reaching these people by radio. I've seen it by no other means a lot of times, but they'll have a shortwave radio and they'll be tuning to the news and they accidentally come across our program,
right.
And then they start calling everybody else in the village. And we'll find a village with 50, 75 people. They built a church with their own money, their own time. They've never had a pastor, and they're worshiping there and virtually become Seventh-day Adventist, you know, by God's grace.
Fantastic. What's the greatest need that you have with AWR?
Well, the greatest need basically is prayers and financing. While we're a general conference entity, that we're the mission arm of the World Church, we have to self-fundraise for all of our outreach, so that's probably the greatest need that way, and prayer, because if people wake up any time of the day or night, pray for these dear people, because somebody somewhere is making a decision for Christ.
Jim, thanks so much for sharing with us today.
Oh, hey, thank you for having me.
Viewers at home, please continue to pray for Adventist World Radio. Pray for the speakers, pray for the listeners, that many people may come to know Jesus Christ as a result of this ministry. We'll be right back. Welcome back. My guest is Ricky Oliveros, who is a video producer with the Office of Adventist Mission. Ricky, glad you can join us.
Thank you.
Ricky, you have in your hand a camera. This is where you spend a lot of your time, behind this camera.
Yes.
Now, you travel the world getting mission stories, and in some ways your job is the envy of some of your friends. But on the other hand, you sometimes have a few challenges. What would be, perhaps, as you look back, one of the more challenging experiences you had behind the camera?
Well, first I have to say it might be the envy of some of my friends, but it's not as luxurious as you might think.
Yes.
There are a lot of challenges, mental, spiritual, and physical challenges. And one of those physical challenges, I remember being in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and there was a landslide in the road we were supposed to cross. We got out of the plane, got into a truck, and there was backed up traffic for miles and miles. So we had to get out of the truck, hike 5 or 6 kilometers, I think, and we had to pay a girl about $5 to carry our suitcases on her head.
Hang on a second, you paid a girl to carry your suitcases?
Yes.
Okay, move on quickly.
I'm not ashamed of that either, because she was very strong. And it was an incredible experience. It was very difficult because obviously hiking through the mud, my feet were plop, plop, plop through the mud for 5 or 6 kilometers. Dodging through trucks that had overturned, and even it started raining in some spots. But that was a challenge, and to get to the other end was a blessing, and we were able to film some amazing things on the other side. So it was great.
Now that's, of course, is one of the world's poorest countries. You must have seen some fairly horrible sights, I imagine.
Yeah, it was incredible in an interesting way. Yeah. Because it was very humbling to see how people were living there. Sometimes we think that we are in an unfortunate situation, but then you just have to go over there to really see what unfortunate can be.
Right.
It's very humbling.
Now, Ricky, you put together a small video showing what it's like to be behind the scenes producing a video. Let's have a look at that now.
Okay. On a typical video trip, the odds that things will fall perfectly into place is very slim. There are usually unexpected road bumps along the way. For starters, I was faced with the challenges of keeping my batteries charged, my files safely stored, and I had to limit the weight of my equipment. And that was just the beginning. We had a broken down vehicle and bad weather. And when those kind of things happen, it can be hard to find patience. Then I thought about how these are probably everyday experiences for the people who live here. These small inconveniences are probably a normal part of their lives, and they weren't annoyed or impatient. They were smiling and praising God. That kind of put me in my place for the rest of the trip. God was in control. Through good and bad, He provided us with some wonderful opportunities to connect with our brothers and sisters from around the world. Although I was able to film some amazing things, no camera is capable of capturing how good God is. When I got off the boat on a small island in Raja Ampat, I was overwhelmed with the greeting we received. We were greeted with beautiful singing as we made our way toward the island's church. As I entered the church in Raja Ampat, I felt strangely at home. The ground was made of sand, the language was foreign, and there was even a snake hanging from the rafters. But I knew that I was with my family, who I had never met before. And to think, just 50 years ago, this region was home to cannibalistic tribes. Even though I couldn't comprehend how the gospel message made it all the way out here, I was glad it did. Despite God's presence on this island, there are thousands of unreached people in West Papua and all around the world. Our mission still carries on until Jesus comes again.
So Ricky, you had a fabulous experience on that trip by the look of it.
It was amazing. One of my favorite trips I've taken so far.
Yeah, and did you meet any of the global mission pioneers working there?
Yeah, we met some church planters while we were over there, and it was amazing to see because there were no Adventists to start with. It was just a completely unentered area, and it was amazing to see how people can make such an impact in their community and raise a congregation of believers there.
Now, Ricky, when you're out there, you're usually by yourself, so you've got to care for doing interviews, camera, audio, lighting, everything. Do you have any horror stories of when you've forgotten to record the sound or anything like that?
Oh, yeah, I probably shouldn't talk about those too much, but it's definitely happened once or twice. I've gone and forgot a memory card sometime, had to run back to the car, forgot batteries, you know, it happens all the time just because there are so many things to think about. Yeah. And then you're trying to focus on the story that you're trying to convey and hope that the story will bless people that you're showing it to. And so there are a million things running through your head as you're preparing for a trip, as you're on the trip. Even when you get back, you look over your notes and there's a lot to think about, it's true.
Yeah, and if we were a professional organization with unlimited money, there'd be 4 or 5 of you going out, but it's just the one.
At least,
yeah.
But we make it happen with usually just one person going, and it's not due to us, it's because God allows us to do that, really. Yeah. Otherwise, there's really no other way to do that.
Wonderful. Ricky, thank you so much for sharing with us today. Next up, we visit some Pathfinders who are making a difference in the community.
Okay, we're here loading buses to go on the community service projects. This is our face in the community, where people see that what pathfinding is all about, and that is serving people, serving communities in Christ's name. And so we're loading about 20 some buses on this side, about 10 or 12 on the other side.
How I feel about going out and doing community service is really helpful because you get to help people and you get to see the smile on their faces when you help them, and I think that's really important to me, and I like that.
Well, this morning we are expecting about 8,000 Pathfinders to be out there serving communities. Jesus came not to be served, but to serve. And that is our Christian duty and responsibility, serving others. And our youth are involved and engaged doing just that, serving people in Christ's name.
Pathfinders from all over the world joined together to serve the local communities around Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Adventist Community Services led the efforts by organizing service opportunities among various projects in the area. The camporee hosted about 40,000 Pathfinders and had about 8,000 volunteer spots, so the opportunities were in high demand. Even when things got a little chaotic, the Pathfinders lived up to their reputation.
You know, they really have been pretty patient. It gets a little hectic when we load the buses. We had a couple of projects had to cancel for various reasons, and the Pathfinders have been so understanding. You know, that on that side, they've been awesome as far as, you know, saying, hey, we're glad to help. If we can't, that's fine, but the Lord will work it out.
Volunteers worked in gardens, painted fences, moved rocks, and brought joy to the people they served. Even though the work was hard, the Pathfinders kept a good attitude and did a great job.
All the leaders that I've talked to of the projects have told me what a wonderful job that our young people, our Pathfinders, are doing. So it makes us proud. You know, we're glad that they're able to go out, make an impression in the community, and show people that what Christian love and disinterested benevolence is all about. You know, they worked hard. It's hard work. I was out yesterday. They're doing hard work, but they're loving it. And they're just coming back all excited and pumped that they can do this for Jesus.
Back at the camp, Pathfinders were given the chance to complete the community service course and earn an honor badge. Hundreds of people took advantage of this opportunity to learn more about what it means to serve your community.
You know, John Milton once said, "The end of all learning is to know God, and out of that knowledge, we love and imitate Him." And we are not just learning about Jesus, but we are being, you know, His messenger, His ambassadors, as a change agent and the difference makers. So not only we talk and study and pray about our belief, but now we are put that belief in action and compassion in action. It's an awesome opportunity for our youth to involve and experience what is like true Christianity. You know, and you can touch and feel and smell. And so it is really a great opportunity.
Thanks for joining us today on Mission 360. I hope that you've been inspired and challenged by what you've seen and heard. From radio waves in Nepal to Pathfinders on the ground making a difference in their local communities, the light of God's love is making a difference in the lives of men and women around the world. Before we go, I'd like to make you a special offer. The Global Mission Calendar shows faces of mission from around the world, and we'd like to send this to you as a free gift, as a small thank you for your continuing support of mission around the world. So if you live in North America, just contact the number on your screen, or you can log in to adventistmission.org and ask for your free Global Mission Calendar. Please pray for the people and places that you see on this program. Frontline mission work can be exciting, but it can also be challenging and at times discouraging. And it's so encouraging for them to know that there is a world church praying for them. Well, that's it for today's program, and I hope that you can join me next time right here on Mission 360.